Well, it's 11:30, and I am walking on Crackling Town Road. Behind me is the intersection of Crackling Town Road and Route 5, which I crossed without incident. And there was a leaky cloud for a second, but now it seems to have stopped, so that's good. So I'm making my way toward the home of Oswald Swann. I actually stopped for a little bit after my socks got all wet at Dr. Mudd's, and it's just getting hotter and hotter. I can feel just the blisters growing. And so right where I came out of Gallon Green Road and Route 5, there's this outdoorsman shop. They sell bait, tackle, and hunting stuff. So got me a new pair of socks that are nice and dry, so that's a little better. But man, I can feel those big blisters. And so I can tell when after I get home tonight, I'm not going to want to do any walking for a couple days because they're going to hurt. But onward we go. Signing off. Well, it is high noon, and I am at the site where Oswald Swann lived. It is at the corner of Crackling Town Road, that's the road in front of me, and Burnt Store Road, which is the road going across this way. And his property was this corner. Right now there is a stables there and a fence, and I don't know how big his property was, whether he even owned it outright, probably not, or rented it. This would have been the location where he lived. So, aside from Dr. Mudd's, the other places that I've shown you today are really approximate routes that they take, that Booth and Herold took. But we know that this is the next stop they made. We know that officially. And I'm going to read you Oswald Swann's statement that he made about that. Now, Oswald Swann also has many names. In some books he's Oscar, Oswald, Oswell, Aussie. His name has many variations. In fact, when they took down his statement, they put it down as Ozzy Swann, or with a A-U-S-Y. But it's all the same man. So it says, Ozzy Swann lives about 2 miles from Bryantown, Maryland. I know Samuel Cox. I met 2 men on Saturday night, April 15th, about 9 o'clock. These men asked me the way to William Birtle's. It was dark and could not see their faces. I was on foot when they asked. They told me to get my horse and show them the way. They asked me if I had any whiskey. I gave them some bread. They offered me $2 to take them to Mr. Birtle's. Before I got to Birtle's, they asked me if I could take them to Captain Cox. If so, they would give me $5 more. One was a small man, the other was a lame man and had a crutch. The small man said the other man broke his leg. I saw it was the left leg that was broken. When they got to Cox, they rode off. It was near midnight. Cox came out with a candle. He said, "How do you do?" They went inside and remained 3 or 4 hours. I stayed outside. When they came out, they were alone. Cox did not come out with them. The small man went some little distance when the lame man called and said, "Don't you know I can't get on?" The small man then came and helped. The small man told me to put my hand under his fork and lift him up, which I did. One said when they were mounting, "I thought Cox was a man of southern feeling." They did not come out of the gate as far as I saw. The gate is about 1/4 of a mile from Cox's house. Before they got to Cox's, the small man said, "Don't you say anything. If you tell that you saw anybody, you will not live long." I saw nothing more of them. I got back home, which is 12 miles from Cox's, about sunrise. In all, they paid me $12. And that is the statement of Oswald Swann. And we know that there is truth in that because what I read to you back at Cantor's from Davy Herold talk about how he got whiskey and bread from a darky who lived near Bryantown. Now we are... There we go. So we are actually more south of Bryantown than we are we're southeast of Bryantown. So we are here. Now, Oswald Swann, so they paid him money, and he ferried them, well, he showed them the way, so he would take this road down to this little fork, and then he would have taken them across the swamp. Now, here was a road that went through the swamp, Centerville Road, which is currently Route 6, and he would have taken them across there, then to Newtown, Belle Alton Newtown Road today, took them south, and then took them to Rich Hill. So, like he said, it was 12 miles from his place here to Rich Hill. I'm not walking that today. Maybe I'll do it some other time. But now, Ossie Swann was put into prison, but he was the main one to show that Samuel Cox did help them. However, it was this former slave of Samuel Cox marry Swann, who is not related to Oswald, who claimed that no, Booth and Herold never entered the house, and that's what kept Samuel Cox from getting in further trouble. But this is the location of where Oswald Swann lived, and where Booth and Herold came in order to get help. Now, at first, Oswald Swann said they wanted to go to William Birtles. William Birtles is pretty much, if I'm facing this way, so right now I'm facing east. Yes, I'm facing east. It would be directly behind me. William Birtles is not very far, directly going back this way. William Birtles was a Southern sympathizer and a member of the Confederate Underground, but he wasn't very far. I have a map here. Let me bring it out real quick. So at first, they're like, can you take us to William Birtles? And probably when they realized how close they were to Birtles' place, they changed their mind. So here's a hand-drawn map that James Earl Hall did. So here we are where Swann is on motorcycle, and then Birtles' place was here, and then instead they decided to go further. So that is why we are here, to where Oswald Swann's house once was. And so now I'm going to continue walking down the road, and then I'll surprise you where I end up. Alright, I'm standing in front of the Crackling Town Road sign, which you can see right there behind me. There's no sign going the other way saying Burnt Store Road, but that's the road right there that I'm going to be walking down. So I'm going to walk that way, and that's going to take me down the same route that Oswald Swann would have escorted the two after they left his place. Swann, I'm going to walk as I do this. Swann was a Weesort. Weesort is a name for people who had mixed racial heritage. So Oswald Swann, Swann being a Weesort last name, was part Native American, part African American, and part Caucasian. During the times, because of their mixed race, a lot of them lived kind of away from everybody else, and then that's how they got their name, is those people would say those sorts of people, and then they would start referring to themselves as we sort of people, just being that we are different, we sorts. And a lot of them lived actually near Zakiah Swamp. They had little houses back there kind of in the swamp, and they knew their way from the different paths that they would make to get in and out, and that's the place they lived. So Swann was a good guide in order to show them, a way to get through the swamp. But really, ultimately, from a telegram that was sent by one of the soldiers, after he talked to Swann, he talked about how Swann didn't actually take him any special way through the swamp. He took them via the main road, Centerville Road, which today is modern Route 6, which is once again the main way to get over the swamp in order to cross it and get west. But even if he hadn't picked them that way, even if they hadn't picked him and he wouldn't have taken them that way, Swann was definitely a good choice for a guide because he knew the area. Now, he was pretty young at the time. I believe Swann was, I want to say 30. But he had a couple children. In fact, there's another telegram or a letter written to the War Department because he was put in jail, even though he came forward and he shared, after he learned about the assassination of the president and he learned about what happened when one man had a broken leg, he came forward and he surrendered himself to Bryantown, saying, well, I helped these people across. I didn't know who they were. Here's where I took them. So he fessed up, but still he was thrown in the old Capitol prison. And there's a letter that someone wrote saying that, he's got a wife and kids who are very much in need of him. Eventually he was released in May, I believe. I'm not sure the exact date. I have it written down somewhere. So, but for probably about a month, he was in prison in Washington, even though he was the one trying to help the investigators as opposed to everyone else. And I know I posted the other day about a letter from one of the soldiers who was investigating saying that the people down here are all traitors. But Oswald Swann tried to help the investigation and said, I took him to Samuel Cox's and they stayed there for a long time. And it was Mary Swann, Samuel Cox's former slave, who said, oh no, they never came in the house, and testified to that. And that's what kind of saved Samuel Cox from getting in further trouble, even though he was arrested too, and they had strong suspicion on him, but they couldn't prove, anything at the time. All right, so I am walking on Burnt Store Road, and so right now I'm doing part of the route that they would have taken in order to get to across the Zakiah Swamp. And but but I'm not going to walk the whole route because, like I said, that's 12 miles from Swann's place to Rich Hill, so I'm not going to be doing that today. But I'm going to walk part of the route, and then I'm going to walk back to where my car is parked, which luckily is not all the way back up at Dr. Mudd's house because that would be a nightmare to walk all the way back there again. But I'll leave you guessing where my car is parked. It is historically relevant to our little story here, and it's not too far. I don't know, probably take me about maybe about half hour, 45 minutes to walk there from here. So, this is Dave Taylor signing out. It's about 12:40, and I'm at the corner of Burnt Store Road and Oliver Shop Road. So if I was going to continue following Booth and Herold, and in this case Swann's trail, I would be going down that way, which would lead me southwesterly to Route 6, which back then was Centerville Road, and then I would have taken that across the swamp to Samuel Cox's house. So right now, if I look at my map here, I'm right there at that intersection. I'll put it down. So I walked from Oswald Swann's house right here to Burnt Store. So then they continue following Burnt Store down this way. I, however, am going to go north to where my car is parked. And my car is parked at this place right here. So I'll let you guess, see if you can figure out what Catholic church I may have my car parked at. But this at least is the end of me following the route as best I could from location from Dr. Mudd's house all the way to here. It may not be 100% accurate, we'll never know 100%, but it's what is the best assumed route that they took, and so I try to follow in their footsteps. So now I'm pretty tired. I've got kind of a noticeable limp as I walk because of all the blisters, so I'm hoping it doesn't take me too long to head back north that way to where my car is parked. This is Dave Taylor signing off. Well, it's about 1:03 and I made it back to my car. For those of you who correctly guessed that my car was parked at St. Mary's Catholic Church, you are correct, and I'm standing next to the grave of Dr. Samuel Alexander Mudd. Since I started my day at his house, I thought a good spot to leave my car to walk back to would be here at St. Mary's, where Dr. Mudd is buried. And this was the first place that Dr. Mudd met John Wilkes Booth. So I thought it was kind of fitting. But I've had a long day, so I'm going to hop in my car and drive straight home, maybe stop for some food, and then I'm going to put my feet on ice, because that's definitely something that I need to do. But I'm going to need to recalculate how far I walked, because I'm pretty sure I walked much longer than that 11.5 miles that I thought I was going to do when I started this thing. But thank you for following me along this trail. I'm sweaty and gross, but all together in one piece, and I'm hoping I'll be able to do more of these. If you got any ideas of where you want me to go, no, I'm not walking the entire route, at least not with better shoes, but feel free to comment and see if there's any other places you'd like me to try to walk to that will be, hopefully a little nicer. But it was a nice day, and thanks for coming on the Escaper with me. This is Dave Taylor on July 24th, signing off. Bye.